stop apologizing for a mind that will not be quiet. That racing in your chest at 2 a.m. is not madness. It is not a weakness. It is a body that forgot how to feel safe. Tonight, you stop fighting it. Tonight, you learn to speak its language. Your anxiety is not the enemy. It is a signal your nervous system never learned how to turn off. And every tool you have tried, every breath, every distraction, every pill, every mantra, failed for one reason. Nobody taught you the architecture underneath the noise. Today, that ends. Today, you build the quiet from the inside out. Chapter 1. The Mind That Will Not Sleep. The clock reads 2:47 a.m., and your body knows it. Your chest is tight. Your jaw is locked. Your mind is running a meeting nobody invited you to. And somewhere underneath all of it, a quiet voice is whispering the same question it has been whispering for years. What is wrong with me? Nothing. Nothing is wrong with you. That is the first sentence you need to hear, and it is the first sentence almost nobody ever says. You have been told you are too sensitive, too dramatic, too in your head. You have been handed pills, podcasts, breathing apps, and well-meaning advice from people who have never once felt their heartbeat in their teeth at 3 a.m. And none of it worked. Not really. Because none of it started here. With the truth. The truth is, your anxiety is not a malfunction. It is a function. It is a survival system doing exactly what it was built to do. The problem is not that the alarm is broken. The problem is that nobody ever taught it when the danger had passed. Think about that. For years, maybe decades, your nervous system has been standing guard over a threat that left the room a long time ago. It does not know the war is over. So it keeps scanning, keeps bracing, keeps waking you up at hours that have no business existing. And every time you call yourself weak for it, every time you whisper broken under your breath, you are scolding a soldier for refusing to drop his rifle. You are punishing the part of you that kept you alive. Stop. Most people react to anxiety. They fight it. They medicate it. They distract themselves from it until the silence becomes unbearable and the cycle starts again. You choose. You choose to look at it differently. You choose to ask a better question. Not what is wrong with me, but what is this trying to tell me? The truth is, quiet is not the absence of thought. Read that again. Quiet is not the absence of thought. If you are waiting for the noise to disappear before you can feel peace, you will wait forever. The mind does not go silent. The mind learns who is in charge. It is not noise. It is information. The racing thoughts are not random. The 3 a.m. spirals are not random. The tightness in your chest when your phone buzzes is not random. Every signal your body is sending is a message from a system that has been trying to protect you with the only tools it has. Your job is not to shut it up. Your job is to listen, and then to lead. This is where most people stop. They get this far. They read the book. They watch the video. They nod along. And then they go back to fighting the alarm instead of answering it. They keep treating the symptom and ignoring the architecture. You will not. Because you have already done the hardest part. You picked this up. You are still here. You are still listening at the hour when most people would scroll past their own pain. That is not a weakness. That is the beginning of something most people never find. It is not noise. It is information. Say it out loud if you need to. Whisper it into the dark. The racing mind is not your enemy. It is a messenger that has been screaming for years because nobody bothered to translate the message. Today, the translation begins. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not failing some invisible test of mental toughness that everyone else seems to be passing. They are not passing. They are performing. And the performance is louder than yours because yours happens at night, alone, with nobody to lie to. Most people react. You choose. You choose to stop treating your nervous system like an opponent and start treating it like a partner that needs better instructions. You choose to stay in the room with yourself rather than run. The truth is, the quiet you are looking for is not somewhere out there. It is not in a retreat, not in a supplement, not in the next productivity hack. It is underneath all of this. Underneath the loops. Underneath the bracing. Underneath the story that something is fundamentally wrong with you. And to get to it, you have to start where the noise actually lives. Not in your thoughts. In your body. You have spent your whole life trying to think your way calm. It has never worked. It will never work. Because the alarm is not ringing in your mind. It is ringing in your flesh. You have stopped calling yourself broken. Now it is time to learn where the signal actually lives, and how to speak to it directly. Chapter 2. The body keeps the alarm. Before the thought, there is the tension. Before the worry, there is the shallow breath. Before the spiral, there is a shoulder that has been clenched since you were 11 years old, and nobody ever told it to let go. This is the part of the story almost nobody talks about. You have been trying to fix anxiety from the wrong floor of the building. You have been rearranging furniture in the attic while the fire burns in the basement. And the basement, the place where anxiety actually lives, is not your mind. It is your body. The previous chapter ended with a promise. That the quiet you are looking for is not in your head. It is underneath it. Now you find out where underneath actually is. Put your hand on your chest. Right now. Feel it. That tightness, that low hum of pressure that never quite leaves, that is not a metaphor. That is the alarm. It has been ringing for so long that you stopped hearing it as an alarm and started hearing it as background music. As you. As who you are. It is not who you are. It is what your body has been carrying. The truth is, your nervous system speaks a language older than logic. Older than words. Older than the rational, articulate, problem-solving part of you that has been trying so hard to talk it down. You cannot reason with a system that does not speak in reason. You might as well lecture a thunderstorm. So you stop lecturing. And you start listening. The body does not respond to argument. The body responds to evidence. A planted foot is evidence. A slow, long exhale is evidence. A loosened jaw is evidence. A hand on the chest, warm, steady, unhurried, is evidence. Every one of these is a sentence in a language your body actually understands. And every one of them says the same thing. We are safe. We are here. The danger has passed. Most people react. You choose. Most people, when the wave of anxiety hits, reach for the mind. They try to think it away. They try to argue with it. They try to outsmart a system that was built before smart existed. You will not. You will go down a floor. You will meet the signal where it lives. Drop your shoulders. Right now. You did not even know they were up. That is the work. That small, unglamorous, almost embarrassing work. Nobody is going to applaud you for unclenching your jaw at a red light. Nobody is going to give you a trophy for breathing through your nose for 60 seconds while the email loads. But this is the work. This is where the rewiring happens. Not in the grand moments. In the 1,000 tiny acts of evidence, you give your body the signal that the war is over. The truth is, the Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago, though they did not use the language of nervous systems. Marcus Aurelius wrote about returning to the body, returning to the breath, returning to the present moment as a discipline, not a feeling. Epictetus trained his students to govern their physical reactions before their mental ones. They understood something the modern self-help industry forgot. The discipline is physical first, mental second. This is where most people stop. They get told to breathe, and they roll their eyes. They get told to drop their shoulders, and they think it is too simple to matter. They want a complicated answer because they have a complicated problem. So they keep searching for the perfect technique, the perfect supplement, the perfect therapist, the perfect mindset, while the basics, the boring, ancient, unsexy basics, sit untouched. You will not be that person. You will be the person who does the simple thing, who exhales longer than they inhale, who plants their feet on the floor before they answer the email, who notices the tension in the jaw and releases it without making it a whole story. You will treat your body like a partner that needs steady, repeated physical evidence that it is allowed to stand down. Regulate the body. The mind will follow. Say it. Regulate the body. The mind will follow. This is the law underneath everything else in this book. You can have the best mantras in the world, the most beautiful affirmations, the most expensive therapy, and none of it will stick if the body is still convinced it is in danger. The thoughts are downstream. The body is upstream. Fix upstream. Most people react. You choose. You choose to go to the source. You choose to stop demanding that your mind perform calm while your body is screaming for backup. You choose to give the backup. You become it. The truth is, you will not feel different overnight. The body has been bracing for years. It will take more than one long exhale to convince it. But every breath is a deposit. Every dropped shoulder is a deposit. Every planted foot is a deposit. And one day, sooner than you think, you will realize the background hum is gone. Not because you fought it. Because you finally answered it. You have learned where the alarm actually lives. Now you must learn the shape of the loops it triggers, because the body sends the signal, but the mind builds the story. And the story is what keeps you trapped. Chapter 3: Naming the Loop. There are only 3 stories your anxious mind knows how to tell. 3. That is it. After all these years, all these sleepless nights, all these spirals you thought were uniquely, painfully yours, the truth is almost insulting in its simplicity. You are not original in your suffering. You are running a script. The body has stopped bracing. The breath is beginning to lengthen. And in that small opening, something else becomes visible. The shape of the thoughts themselves. The patterns. The grooves they have worn into you over years of unsupervised repetition. Look closely. You will see them. The first loop is a future catastrophe. The what if. The rehearsal of every disaster that has not happened and probably never will. The mind runs simulations of conversations that will never occur, illnesses you do not have, failures you have not failed. It feels like preparation. It is not. It is suffering from credit. You pay the emotional price for a tragedy that never arrives. The second loop is past replay. The cringe. The 2 a.m. archive of every awkward sentence, every misread room, every moment you wish you could rewrite. You think you are processing. You are not. You are picking at a wound that healed years ago and reopening it for sport. The third loop is self-surveillance. The constant monitoring. Am I breathing weird? Did that sound stupid? Why is my heart beating like that? Am I anxious right now? Oh God, now I am anxious about being anxious. The mind watching the mind watching the mind, until the watcher and the watched collapse into one exhausted, dizzy mess. That is it. 3 loops. That is the whole library. The truth is, you cannot defeat what you cannot name. As long as the loop is invisible, it is you. The moment you name it, it becomes a thing happening to you. And the gap between those 2 states, between being the loop and observing the loop, is where every ounce of your freedom lives. Name it, and it loses its grip. Try it. The next time the spiral starts, label it before you do anything else. Out loud if you can. Whisper if you must. That is a future catastrophe. That is a past replay. That is self-surveillance. Do not analyze it. Do not argue with it. Just name it. Like a botanist labeling a plant. Calm. Clinical. Unimpressed. Something strange will happen. The loop will not disappear. That is not the goal. But it will lose volume. It will move from the center of the room to the edge. It will become weather, not climate. Most people react. You choose. Most people, when the loop starts, jump in. They engage. They argue with the catastrophic thought. They try to disprove the cringe. They scan their body to check if the anxiety is really there. Every one of these moves is fuel. Every one of these moves tells the loop that you are important enough to wrestle with. So the loop grows. You will not wrestle. You will name. And then you will return to the present. This is where most people stop. They learn the names and then forget to use them. They read about the loops in a book, nod, highlight the passage, and then go right back to drowning in them the next day. Knowledge is not the work. An application is the work. The naming has to happen in the moment, not on the page. So you build the habit. Every spiral becomes a chance to practice. Every 3 a.m. wake-up becomes a training ground. You are not trying to stop the loops. You are training yourself to see them faster. 5 minutes in. Then 3. Then 30 seconds. Eventually, the loop will start, and you will name it before it even finishes its first sentence, and it will collapse like a stage set with no actors. The truth is, this is what cognitive freedom actually looks like. Not a mind without thoughts. A mind that no longer believes every thought is an emergency. You watch the loop the way a guard watches a door. Calm. Alert. Unimpressed. You are not afraid of what is on the other side, because you know what is on the other side. You have seen it 1,000 times. It is the same 3 guests, telling the same 3 stories, hoping you will once again mistake them for prophets. You will not. Name it, and it loses its grip. Name it, and it loses its grip. Say it until it becomes muscle memory. Say it until the naming happens before the panic. Say it until the loop, once a tyrant, becomes a tired old script you can quote along with. Most people react. You choose. You choose to be the one who names, not the one who is named. You choose to be the witness, not the captive. You choose to remember, every single time, that a thought is a thing that arrives. It is not true. And that is the next move. Because naming the loop is only half the freedom. The other half is what you do with the individual thoughts that make up the loop. How you hold them. How do you let them pass? How do you stop bowing to every visitor that knocks on the door of your mind? Chapter 4, Cognitive Defusion, the Art of Letting Thoughts Pass. A thought arrived. You believed it. That is the entire mechanism. That is the whole trap, in one sentence, and almost nobody ever explains it this plainly. You have learned to name the loops. You have seen the same 3 stories repeat themselves throughout your life. But there is still one move left to master. Because even when you can name the loop, the individual thoughts inside it still feel real. They still feel like reports from a trusted source. They still feel like you. They are not you. They never were. Imagine standing at a window during a storm. The wind howls. The rain hits the glass. The thunder shakes the room. You watch it. You do not argue with the storm. You do not apologize to it. You do not climb out the window and try to wrestle it. You simply observe, knowing that the storm is not the house, and the house is not the storm. That is what your mind is supposed to be. A house with windows. Thoughts are the weather. You are the house. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being the house. You started being the weather. Every passing thought became a verdict. Every fear became a forecast. Every doubt became a diagnosis. The wind whispered, "You are not enough," and you said, "Yes, that must be true because the wind said so." The truth is, a thought is a visitor, not a verdict. Read that line again. A thought is a visitor, not a verdict. It knocks. It enters. It says its piece. And then, if you do not feed it, it leaves. The only thoughts that move impermanently are the ones you keep cooking dinner for. Cognitive defusion is the discipline of letting them go hungry. Here is how it works in practice. A thought arrives. Something cruel. Something catastrophic. Something that pretends to be your own voice. I am going to fail. They are going to leave me. Something is wrong with me. The older you are, the more you would believe it instantly. The older you are, the more you would build a whole afternoon around it. The new you does something different. The new you says, there is a thought that I am going to fail. Notice the change. No, I am not going to fail. There is a thought that I will fail. One small phrase, slipped in front of the sentence, and suddenly the thought is no longer the room. It is an object in the room. You are still the one standing. You can go further. There is a thought that I am going to fail, and my mind is offering it to me right now. Notice it again. You have just turned the thought from a sentence about reality into a sentence about your mental activity. It is no longer prophecy. It is a process. Most people react. You choose. Most people hear a cruel thought and immediately go to war with it. They try to disprove it. They list evidence against it. They argue with it as if it were a person standing in the room. This is a trap. Because to argue with a thought is to admit it is worth arguing with. It is to grant it citizenship in your mind. You will not grant it citizenship. You will let it pass through like a stranger at a train station. You will see it. You will note it. You will not chase it. You will not call it back. The truth is, the thought that terrifies you only has power because you treat it as the voice of reality. Strip its authority, and it becomes noise. The same sentence that ruined your week last month can become a passing cloud this month. Same words. Different relationship. This is where most people stop. They hear the concept of diffusion, like it, try to use it once, fail, and decide it does not work for them. They confuse a single attempt with a practice. Diffusion is not a trick you do once. It is a posture you build over thousands of repetitions, until the gap between thought and belief becomes automatic. So you practice. You practice on small thoughts first. The boring ones. The ones that say you should check your phone, worry about that email, or rehearse that conversation again. You watch them arrive. You name them. You let them go. You build the muscle in the easy reps, so it is there when the heavy ones come. A thought is a visitor, not a verdict. Whisper it to yourself in line at the store. Whisper it in the meeting. Whisper it at 3 a.m. when the dark sentences start arriving uninvited. You are not the storm. You are the house. Most people react. You choose. You choose to stop bowing to every voice in your own head. You choose to be the host, not the hostage. You choose to remember that the mind is a generator of thoughts, and a generator does not always know what it is generating. Some of what it produces is a signal. Most of it is static. The truth is, when you stop believing every thought, you do not lose yourself. You find yourself. The you underneath the noise. The you that was there before the loops moved in. The you who has been waiting patiently for you to stop mistaking the weather for the house. You have stopped bowing to your thoughts. You have stopped treating every mental visitor like a king. But there is still a system underneath all of this, a system that decides whether your body even gives you room to choose, whether your nervous system stays open enough to diffuse anything at all. And that system has one door, and only one door, which you can open by hand. Chapter 5. The Breath That Rewires Fear. The heart beats without permission. The gut digests without instruction. The immune system fights battles you will never know about, in cells you will never see. Of all the great processes happening inside your body right now, only one of them will let you take control. Only one. The breath. That is not a small fact. That is the entire game. You have learned to watch your thoughts without obeying them. But watching takes a steady mind, and a steady mind takes a steady nervous system, and a steady nervous system, for most of human history and all of yours, has felt like something other people were born with and you were not. That ends in this chapter. Because there is one switch in your body that you can flip with your own hand, and almost nobody is taught how to use it. The breath is the door. Think about that for a moment. Every other system in your body runs on autopilot. You cannot decide to lower your heart rate. You cannot decide to soften your digestion. You cannot decide to calm your hormones. But you can decide right now in this exact second to take a slow breath in through your nose and an even slower breath out through your mouth. And the moment you do that, every other system in your body starts listening. The truth is, your nervous system reads your breath like a status report. A short, sharp, shallow inhale is a sentence in an ancient language, and the sentence is, "The danger is here." A long, slow, unhurried exhale is a different sentence, in the same ancient language, and the sentence is, "The danger has passed." Your body does not care which one is actually true. It cares which one you keep telling it. For years, maybe your entire life, you have been telling it the wrong sentence. Watch yourself. Right now. Notice your breath without changing it. Most likely, it is shallow. It is high in the chest. The inhale is longer than the exhale, or about the same. You have been breathing like prey. Like something being hunted. Like a creature waiting for the next strike. That stops today. Today, you breathe like the one in command. Inhale through the nose, slow 4 counts. The exhale through the mouth slower, 6 counts, 8 counts, as long as you can stretch it without strain. The exhale is the signal. The exhale is the message. The exhale is the sentence that tells the entire ancient machinery of your body, "You are safe, you can stand down, the war is over." Exhale longer than you inhale. That is the whole secret. Say it again, because the most powerful tools are always the ones that sound too simple to matter. Exhale longer than you inhale. That is the whole secret. Not a special app. Not a course. Not a guru. The mechanics of your own diaphragm, used on purpose, used with discipline, used like a man or woman who has finally learned where the controls are. Most people react. You choose. Most people, when the wave of panic hits, suck in a huge breath and hold it, which is exactly what the body does in a real emergency. You will not. You will do the opposite. You will exhale first. You will empty the lungs. You will let the shoulders fall. And only then will you inhale low into the belly, like you have all the time in the world. This is where most people stop. They hear the word breathwork, and they roll their eyes. They think it is too soft. Too simple. Too cliché. They want a complicated solution because they want to feel sophisticated in their suffering. They would rather take 3 medications than do 4 slow exhales. So they keep searching for something more impressive while the most powerful tool in the human body sits inside them, unused, every minute of every day. You will not be that person. You will do the simple thing. You will use the door directly in front of you. You will breathe long exhales while the email loads, while the meeting starts, while the dark room presses in around you at 3 a.m. You will turn breath into a discipline, not a technique. Not something you do when you remember. Something you do because you have remembered who you are. The truth is, every long exhale is a vote. A vote for the version of you that is calm. A vote for the nervous system that trusts you. A vote against the years of shallow, frightened breathing that taught your body the world was a place to brace against. You cast that vote enough times, and the body slowly, reluctantly, beautifully starts to believe you. Exhale longer than you inhale. That is the whole secret. Most people react. You choose. You choose to use the one switch you were given. You choose to stop waiting for calm to arrive and start manufacturing it, one breath at a time, with the only tool that was ever going to work in the first place. The truth is, the breath is not just a technique. It is a relationship. The more you use it on purpose, the more it shows up for you without being asked. The body that was trained to brace begins to relax on its own. The mind that was trained to race begins to slow on its own. The whole architecture you have been building, the naming, the diffusion, the body awareness, all of it gets its foundation from this. From the simple ancient act of breathing like someone who is no longer afraid. You have found the door. You have learned how to open it. But a door is not a home. Now you must build the room you walk into. The discipline of sitting in your own presence without flinching. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Stillness. A man sits alone in a room for 10 minutes and calls it impossible. Another man sits alone in a room for 10 minutes and calls it home. Same room. Same 10 minutes. Different relationship. You have learned to open the door of the breath. You have learned to send your body the signal that the danger has passed. But now comes a different test, and it is the test almost everyone fails. Because once the body begins to settle, once the breath lengthens, once the loops lose their volume, a new discomfort arrives. The discomfort of not running. The discomfort of having nothing to do. The discomfort of being alone with yourself, without the noise that has been hiding you from yourself for years. This is the moment that separates the readers from the practitioners. Stillness is not the reward for a quiet mind. Read that again, because this is the line that most self-help gets backward. Stillness is not the reward. Stillness is the training ground. You do not wait until you feel calm to sit. You sit until calm arrives. The sitting is not the celebration. The sitting is the work. The truth is, the Stoics had a name for this. They called it the inner citadel, a place inside you that the world cannot reach. Marcus Aurelius wrote about retreating into it daily, especially when the world outside grew loud. He was the most powerful man in the known world, and he understood that no amount of power outside could substitute for a few minutes of authority inside. He sat. He breathed. He thought. He returned to himself. You will do the same. Not because it is fashionable. Not because some app tells you to. Because the entire architecture of the calm you are building requires a room to live in, and that room is the time you spend on purpose doing nothing. 5 minutes. That is where you start. Not 30. Not 20. 5 minutes of sitting, eyes open or closed, no music, no podcast, no phone within reach. Just you. Just breathe. Just the slow, uncomfortable, wildly important act of being present with yourself without producing anything. The first time, it will feel unbearable. The mind will scream. The body will itch. You will remember every task you have been avoiding. You will suddenly need to text someone. You will feel certain you are wasting time. Stay. Sit. Breathe. Do nothing. Most people react. You choose. Most people, the moment stillness gets uncomfortable, get up. They reach for the phone. They start a chore. They invent an emergency. The discomfort of not running has become so foreign to them that they treat it like pain to be avoided. You will not. You will treat it like training. Because that is what it is. This is where most people stop. They try meditation once, feel restless, and decide it is not for them. They confuse the difficulty of the first reps with proof of personal failure. But nobody ever picked up a heavy weight on day one and decided they were not built for the gym. Stillness is the same. The discomfort is not a sign that you are doing it wrong. The discomfort is the workout. The truth is, every minute you sit and refuse to flee is a brick in the inner citadel. You are building something invisible, something nobody else will see, something that will hold you when the world finally tests you, and the world will test you. The promotion will fall through. The relationship will shake. The diagnosis will come. The phone call you have been dreading will arrive. And when it does, you will not be scrambling to find your center for the first time. You will already be living there. Stillness is not absence. Stillness is authority. Say it. Stillness is not absence. Stillness is authority. You are not sitting there empty. You are sitting there sovereign. You are reminding your nervous system, your mind, and the entire world around you that you are the one who decides what gets your attention. Not the phone. Not the email. Not the next anxious thought. You. Most people react. You choose. You choose to sit when every nerve says move. You choose to stay when every instinct says flee. You choose to be available to yourself on a schedule, without conditions or an agenda. You choose to become someone whose own presence is no longer a stranger. The truth is, the people you admire most, the calm ones, the unshaken ones, the ones who seem to move through the world without bracing, They did not get there by accident. They got there by sitting. By choosing the discipline of stillness on days when nobody was watching. By treating 5 minutes of solitude as more important than 5 hours of busyness. They built the citadel. And then they lived in it. You will too. You will sit tomorrow morning. Not for an hour. For 5 minutes. You will turn off the notifications. You will plant your feet. You will breathe long, slow exhales. And you will refuse to leave the chair until the timer ends. You will fail. You will try again. You will fail less. And one day, sooner than you expect, you will sit down, and the resistance will not come, and you will realize the room you used to flee has become the room you live in. Stillness is not absence. Stillness is authority. You have chosen the work over the comfort. You have begun building a place inside you that the world cannot enter without permission. But there is still one great lie that the anxious mind tells, a lie that follows you into the citadel itself, a lie that disguises itself as wisdom. And until you see through it, the room you have built will never feel fully safe. Chapter 7. The Lie of Certainty. A mind that demands to know everything before acting is not a careful mind. It is a caged one. And the bars are made of a single word, dressed up as a virtue, that has been ruining your peace for as long as you can remember. Certainty. You have built the breath. You have built the stillness. You have a room inside you that the world cannot enter without your permission. And yet, somewhere in that room, a voice is still whispering, "What if? What if? What if?" It sounds careful. It sounds responsible. It sounds like the voice of someone who is just trying to be prepared. It is not. It is the voice of the cage. The truth is, your anxiety has made you a brilliant rehearsal artist. You can run 100 simulations of a conversation before it happens. You can predict the worst case of every choice before you make it. You can build entire futures, in detail, from a single missed text message. And the whole time, you tell yourself that you are being thoughtful, that you are being prudent, that you are protecting yourself. You are not protecting yourself. You are imprisoning yourself. Certainty is not safety. Read that line until it sinks into bone. Certainty is not safety. Certainty is a cage. The mind that demands to know the outcome before it will act will never act. It will only rehearse. It will only forecast. It will only spin endless versions of a future that has not happened, in the desperate hope that if it can just imagine the worst clearly enough, the worst will not arrive. But the worst does not care how many times you imagined it. Life unfolds regardless of how thoroughly you tried to predict it. And the cost of all that prediction, the real cost, is not paid in the future. It is paid in the present. Every minute spent rehearsing tomorrow is a minute stolen from today. Look at your own life. Look at the hours, the days, the years you have spent trying to be sure. Sure that you would not fail. Sure that you would not be left. Sure that you would not be judged. Sure that you would not get sick, lose money, embarrass yourself, or make a mistake. And what did all that certainty buy you? Nothing. The events still happened, or they did not. Your control was an illusion. Your worry was a tax. The truth is, the most peaceful people you have ever met are not the ones who have figured everything out. They are the ones who have made peace with not figuring it out. They have stopped demanding to know. They have started showing up. Most people react. You choose. Most people, when uncertainty arrives, immediately try to resolve it. They Google. They overthink. They text 3 friends. They make lists of pros and cons for decisions that have no rational answer. They cannot tolerate the open question, so they reach for any answer, even a bad one, just to close the loop. You will not. You will sit with the open question. You will let it stay open. You will let yourself not know. This is where most people stop. They hear the idea of releasing certainty, and they panic. They confuse not knowing with not caring. They think presence means recklessness. It does not. Presence is the highest form of attention. The person who is fully here, with no requirement that the future reveal itself, is the most powerful person in any room. Because they are the only ones not bargaining with a future that cannot be bargained with. I do not need to know. I need to be here. Say it. I do not need to know. I need to be here. This is the line you whisper at 3 a.m. when the catastrophic forecasts begin. This is the line you whisper before a hard conversation, a job interview, a date, a decision. You do not need to know how it ends. You need to be in it while it is happening. The truth is, certainty was never available to you. It was a story you were sold. By a mind trying to keep you safe in a world it could not control. The trade was simple. Give up your present, and I will give you the illusion of a controlled future. You took the deal. Most people take the deal. It is the most expensive deal in the human experience. Today, you cancel it. You stop interrogating tomorrow. You stop putting it on trial every night. You stop demanding that life submit a detailed itinerary before you agree to participate. You let life be what it is, a series of unfolding moments that no amount of pre-thinking can prepare you for, and that no amount of pre-thinking can protect you from. Most people react. You choose. You choose to walk forward without the map. You choose to enter the room without rehearsing every line. You choose to make the decision without knowing the outcome. Not recklessly, carefully, but without the demand that the universe show you the ending before you start the story. I do not need to know. I need to be here. The truth is, when you finally stop demanding certainty, something strange happens. The present moment, the one you have been skipping past for years, becomes available. The food tastes like food. The face in front of you becomes a face, not a future grievance. The breath feels like breath. You start to live in the moment you are actually in, instead of the moment you are afraid of. That is freedom. Not the freedom to control. The freedom to be here fully, without the cage of needing to know. You have stepped out of the cage. You have stopped paying the tax of endless prediction. But there is 1 hour, one specific stretch of every day, when the old voice comes back the loudest. When the demand for certainty wakes you up and refuses to let you sleep. And until you learn to walk through that hour with the same authority you have built in this one, the cage door will keep swinging open in the dark. Chapter 8. Reclaiming the Night. The world goes quiet. The lights go out. The distractions disappear. And there in the dark, the part of you that has been waiting all day finally gets the floor. It clears its throat. It opens a folder. It begins to read. You know this hour. Everyone with an anxious mind knows this hour. It is the hour when every unfinished thought of the day comes to be heard. Where every conversation gets replayed. Where every fear, denied during daylight, comes to collect its interest. The night is not just when you cannot sleep. The night is when your mind finally gets you alone. You have learned to release certainty in the day. But the night does not care about what you learned in the day. The night is its own country, with its own laws, and you have been losing the same war on the same border for years. This chapter is how you stop. The truth is, the night is not your enemy. Read that sentence again. The night is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It does not invent new fears. It only reflects the ones you have been refusing to look at while the sun was up. Everything that wakes you at 2 a.m. has been there all along. The night just turns off the noise loud enough for you to finally hear it. Most people treat the night like an attack. They reach for the phone. They scroll. They put on background noise. They take something to knock themselves out. They do anything, to avoid the conversation the silence is trying to have with them. And then they wonder why the same fears keep coming back, night after night, year after year. They keep coming back because they have not been heard. Most people react. You choose. Most people, when the racing starts in the dark, fight it. They tell themselves to stop thinking. They get angry at their own mind. They check the clock and calculate how much sleep they are losing, which makes the panic worse and the loop tighter. You will not. You will do something almost no one does. You will sit up. You will turn on a small light. And you will meet the night on its own terms. You will write the thoughts down. By hand if you can. On paper. Not in a note on your phone. The act of moving thoughts from your head onto a page is one of the oldest and most powerful practices in the human archive. It externalizes the loop. It gives the spiral a place to land that is not your nervous system. Once the thought is on paper, it no longer needs to circle inside you. It has been heard. You will name what you find. Future catastrophe. Past replay. Self-surveillance. The same three guests you met in earlier chapters, just dressed in the dark. You will label them clinically. Without drama. Without disgust. You will treat them as you do in daylight, because the practice does not get a night off. Then you will release them. Not in some grand mystical way. You will close the notebook. You will turn off the light. You will lie back down. And you will return to the breath. Long exhales. Slow. Unhurried. The same door you learned to open in Chapter 5 opened again, in the dark, with the same calm hand. The truth is, the fix is not better sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene is fine. Dim the lights. Avoid the screens. Cool the room. Do all of it. But none of it touches the core problem. The night has become an interrogation room because you have been refusing to have the conversation during the day. You owe yourself the conversation. The night just sends the invoice. This is where most people stop. They get this far in the idea, and then the next night they reach for the phone anyway. The pull of the easy escape is strong. The discomfort of meeting yourself in the dark feels enormous. You will not give in. You will treat the night as training, just as you treated the stillness. The first few times will be uncomfortable. They are supposed to be. You are unwinding a habit that took years to build. The night is not your enemy. It is your mirror. Say it as you lie there. Say it to the ceiling. Say it to the dark. The night is not your enemy. It is your mirror. And the person in the mirror is finally being looked at, not avoided. That is not a tragedy. That is a homecoming. Most people react. You choose. You choose to stop running from the hour you actually live in. You choose to bring your practice with you across the threshold between day and night. You choose to be the same person at 3 a.m. that you are at 3 p.m., because the work is not real until it survives the dark. The truth is, when you stop fearing the night stops being something to fear. The wake-ups still happen sometimes. The thoughts still arrive sometimes. But they no longer feel like ambushes. They feel like meetings you have already scheduled, with a self you have already met. You sit up. You write. You name. You breathe. You return. And often, more often than you would believe right now, sleep comes back on its own, because the body finally trusts that the mind is no longer at war with itself. You will meet yourself in the dark, and you will walk out unshaken. You have reclaimed the hour that used to own you. But hours do not stand alone. They sit inside days, and days inside weeks, and the calm you are building at night will only hold if the architecture around it holds. Now it is time to build the structure that holds everything else. Chapter 9. The Daily Architecture of Calm. A cathedral is not built by mood. A cathedral is built by stone after stone, placed by hands that showed up on days when they did not feel like it. Your calm is the same. You have reclaimed the night. You have learned to sit with the breath, the stillness, the loops, the loosening grip of certainty. But there is a quiet truth underneath everything you have learned so far, and almost nobody says it plainly. The work does not hold unless the structure around it holds. Calm is not a mood. Read that again, because the entire self-help industry would prefer you did not. Calm is not a feeling that drops on you when conditions are right. Calm is a structure, a discipline, a set of non-negotiable daily inputs that you give your nervous system, whether you feel like it or not, until the system finally believes you mean it. The truth is, the anxious mind feeds on chaos. It loves improvisation. It thrives on inconsistent sleep, skipped meals, random schedules, late nights, no morning routine, news first thing, screens before stillness, and deadlines as alarms. Every variable you leave open is a variable the loops will fill. And then you wonder why you feel scattered. You are not scattered. You are unscaffolded. Today, you build the scaffold. It is simpler than you think and more boring than you want it to be. Movement, sunlight, slow mornings, deliberate inputs, protected sleep. That is the architecture. 5 pillars. Nothing exotic. Nothing expensive. Nothing that requires a guru, an app, or a subscription. Movement, every day. Not as punishment for your body, but as a conversation with it. A walk. A lift. A stretch. Something that reminds the nervous system that you are an animal designed to move, and an animal that does not move begins to spiral. 20 minutes is not a small thing. 20 minutes is the difference between a body that holds you and a body that haunts you. Sunlight, early. Not through a window. Outside. The first 30 minutes of your day, if you can manage it, should include light on your face that did not pass through glass. Your entire internal clock is calibrated by this signal. You skip it, and your body never quite knows what time it is. And a body that does not know what time it is a body that does not know when to be calm and when to be alert. Slow mornings. The first hour of your day is the rudder of the entire ship. You give that hour to your phone, and the phone steers the day. You give that hour to noise, and the noise steers the day. You give that hour to other people's emergencies, and they steer the day. You give it to yourself to breathe to stillness, to a cup of something warm in your hands while you look at nothing, and you have already won the first round before the world has even thrown its first punch. Deliberate inputs. You stop letting the world feed you whatever it wants. You cure it. You choose. You read what builds you. You listen to what steadies you. You unfollow what destabilizes you. Your nervous system is not separate from your information diet. Every input is a vote for the kind of mind you are building. Stop voting against yourself. Protected sleep. The same hours. The same wind down. The same dark room. The same boring, unsexy ritual that signals to your body that the day is over and the night is safe. Sleep is not the absence of activity. Sleep is an active repair process, and repair requires predictability to work. Give it predictability, and it will give you a different brain. Most people react. You choose. Most people read a list like this and pick the one that is easiest, do it for 3 days, feel a little better, then drop it the moment life gets busy. You will not. You will treat these as load-bearing walls of the building you are constructing. Walls do not come down because you had a hard week. Walls hold the building up, so the hard week does not cause it to collapse. This is where most people stop. They want the cathedral without the stones. They want the calm without the routine. They want the still mind without the structured day. They confuse spontaneity with freedom, when in truth, spontaneity in everything is just chaos with better branding. Real freedom is built on a foundation so steady that you no longer have to think about it. The routine becomes invisible. What remains is you. The truth is, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. You can want calm with every cell in your body, and if your daily systems are designed for chaos, you will live in chaos. You can read 1,000 books on anxiety, and if your sleep is broken and your mornings are stolen and your body never moves, the books will be wallpaper. You build calm into the calendar, or you do not build it at all. Structure is the cure for spiraling. Say it. Structure is the cure for spiraling. The mind that spirals is a mind without anchors. You give it anchors. Movement at this hour. Sunlight at this hour. Stillness at this hour. Sleep at this hour. Slowly, without drama, without announcement, the spiraling has less and less room to operate. There is no chaos to feed on. The loops thin out. The nights settle. The days stop ambushing you. Most people react. You choose. You choose the boring discipline of a structured day over the seductive disaster of a chaotic one. You choose to make calm a non-negotiable, not a hope. You choose to engineer the conditions in which the version of you have been trying to become finally has room to exist. The truth is, once the architecture is in place, something quiet and remarkable happens. You stop having to manage your anxiety as if it were a constant emergency. The whole system inside you begins to settle into the structure you have built around it. The breath, the stillness, the naming, the diffusion, the night practice, all of it stops being something you do and starts being something you are. You have built the walls. You have laid the floor. The room is standing. Now there is only one thing left to understand: what it actually means to live inside it. What it means to be the person all of this work has been pointing toward from the very first sentence. Chapter 10. The Quiet You Were Built For. A storm rolls in over an open field. The grass bends. The trees lean. The sky turns the color of old iron. And somewhere above all of it, untouched by the violence below, is the sky itself. Wide. Steady. Unbothered. The storm does not damage the sky. The storm is something the sky is holding. You have built the architecture. You have laid the stones. You have learned the breath, the stillness, the naming, the diffusion, the reclaiming of the night, the daily structure that holds it all together. And now you arrive at the last and most important truth in this entire book, the one almost nobody says out loud, because it sounds too simple to be the destination. The goal was never to silence the mind. Read it again. The goal was never to silence the mind. You were never going to wake up one day and find the thoughts gone. The loops do not disappear. The 3 a.m. wake-ups do not vanish forever. The chest does not become permanently loose. That was never the promise. That was never the point. If you spent this whole book waiting for the noise to end, you misread the entire map. The goal was to stop being afraid of it. The truth is, you do not become the kind of person who has no anxiety. You become the kind of person whose nervous system trusts them. There is a difference, and the difference is everything. The first is a fantasy sold by people who have never been awake at 4 a.m. with a racing heart. The second is a reality available to anyone willing to do the work you have just done. You are different now. Maybe you cannot feel it yet, but you are. The body that used to brace has been given thousands of small pieces of evidence that it can stand down. The mind that used to chase every thought has slowly learned that thoughts are weather, and you are the sky. The night that used to interrogate you has become an hour you can meet on your own terms. The structure of your days has stopped fighting your calm and started feeding it. You stopped running from the noise. You started using it. Anxiety becomes a signal, not a sentence. The tightness in your chest stops being a verdict on your character and becomes information about your day. The racing thought stops being a prophecy and becomes a passing weather system. The sensitivity that tormented you, the one that made you feel everything too loudly, too sharply, too soon, becomes the thing that makes you good at reading rooms, anticipating others, noticing what most people miss. The same wiring that hurt you now serves you. Nothing changed in the wiring. Everything changed in the relationship. Most people react. You choose. Most people will live their entire lives reacting to their own nervous system as if it were an enemy. They will medicate it, suppress it, distract it, and hide from it. They will pour their energy into anything that promises to shut up. And it never will. Because it was never built to shut up. It was built to communicate. And the only people who find peace with it are the ones who learn its language. You learned the language. That is the whole accomplishment. That is the entire victory. The truth is, the quiet you were built for is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of authority inside you. A self that does not flinch at its own thoughts. A body that no longer interprets every signal as a threat. A breath that knows what to do without being told. A mind that watches its own weather without bowing to it. A life with a structure underneath it so steady that even when storms come, and they will come, the structure holds. This is where most people stop. Even now. Even at the end of a book, they read all the way through. They put it down. They feel inspired for a week. And then the old patterns reassert themselves, and they forget that the patterns were never the problem. The relationship with the patterns was the problem. The work was never about elimination. The work was about authority. You will not stop here. You will keep breathing long exhales. You will keep sitting in stillness when nobody is watching. You will keep naming the loops out loud. You will keep meeting at night with a notebook instead of a screen. You will keep building the boring, unglamorous structure that holds it all up. Not because anyone is making you. Because you finally understand what was on the other side of the work. You did not silence the storm. You became the sky. Say it. You did not silence the storm. You became the sky. The thoughts can still rise. The fears can still pass through. The 3 a.m. visitor can still knock. And none of them is the room anymore. They are whether inside a room with a roof, walls, and a floor, and a person standing in the middle of it, no longer afraid. Most people react. You choose. You choose to be the sky. You choose to be in the room. You choose to be the one who watches the storm without becoming it. You choose the quiet that was always underneath the noise, the quiet you were built for, the quiet you have, with your own hands and your own breath and your own discipline, finally come home to. The truth is, this is not the end of the work. There is no end to the work. There is only the work, woven into the rest of your life, becoming less a thing you do and more a thing you are. Some days will still be hard. Some nights will still be long. But you will never again be the person who thought their own mind was the enemy. You will never again apologize for a nervous system that was only ever trying to keep you alive. You have become quiet in the room. The others lean toward without knowing why. The one whose breath slows the room when they enter it. The one who has been to 3 a.m. and walked out unshaken. You did not get here by silencing anything. You got here by listening, by learning, by building, by choosing again and again the slower, harder, truer path. You did not silence the storm. You became the sky. And now, the only thing left is to live there. Every day. Every night. Every breath. Until the place that used to feel impossible feels like the only place you have ever truly belonged. Listen carefully, because this is everything. Your anxiety is not a flaw. It is a body that learned to survive and never learned to rest. You stopped fighting it. You learned the language. You regulated the body before reasoning with the mind. You named the loops, and the loops loosened. You watched your thoughts arrive without bowing to them. You breathed like a person in command, not a person in danger. You sat in stillness when every nerve begged you to move. You stopped demanding certainty and started meeting the present. You reclaimed the night. You built a daily architecture of calm. And somewhere along the way, you stopped being the storm and became the sky underneath it. Most people will live their entire lives at the mercy of a nervous system nobody taught them to operate. You will not. So here is the challenge. Tonight, when the racing returns, and it will return, you will not flinch. You will exhale longer than you inhale. You will name the loop. You will plant your feet. And you will whisper the only sentence that matters now. I am not afraid of my own mind anymore. Then prove it. Every single day, until quiet is no longer a visitor, but the place you live.